Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to call the City Commission Harbor Commission meeting to order. I'd like to begin with an invocation by Commissioner Ron Singleton, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Ice.
Father God, we come now, Father, thank you for another day, Father God. Father, we just thank you for the things that you're doing, Father God. Just can't thank you enough, Father. Without you, Father, we can do nothing. Father, right now, we actually bless this meeting, Father God. Actually, that you give us wisdom and insight, Father, to do things that you will be pleased, Father God. Father, these are the blessings, actually, God. So in Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This brings us to our roll call. I yield to the city clerk.
Commissioner Adams?
Present.
Commissioner Clerk Griffin?
Present.
Commissioner Edwards?
Present.
Commissioner Henderson? Present. Commissioner Henry?
Present.
Commissioner Isom?
Present.
Commissioner Singleton?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats? Mayor Mohammed?
Present.
And quorum.
This brings us to the approval of minutes, regular minutes, September 19,
Motion to
2022.
approve.
Motion is made by Commissioner Adams. Is there support? It is supported by Commissioner Henderson. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Isom?
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats? Commissioner Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Clerk Griffin?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Motion carried.
This brings us to approval of accounts payable listing. Is there a motion for the approval?
So moved.
Motion is made by Commissioner Singleton. It is supported by Commissioner Adams. Is there discussion? Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked for our pre-meeting, I asked the city manager, about a charge from, on page 3, dirt cheap lawn care services, and, as to what that $12,000 was for. And I apologize for not being earlier on this request, but as usual, my email was down again.
That is on page 3, the last item. Chair recognizes the city manager.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, that is for dirt cheap that has been helping us clean up the city. They help on the way trash. And that's what that cost us.
Are you saying that they pick up other than what our trash department does?
Yes. They're picking up, items that people have left out. Dumping.
So you mean like set out
Dumping.
or just dumping? I know when we did this last year, there was a process, and you were supposed to take a picture before and after.
Process is still not.
I would like to make sure and to verify that process is working for us. So I don't know what you have to do to let me be privy to that information, but I definitely want to make sure that at that price, dirt cheap is really not dirt cheap. But I wanna make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing for us.
Director Little, I know this presentation is a burning desire, but this light is,
Until we get to it.
it's like a bright light on 94.
Just have to repower when you come back on. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. Um, I wanna know what benefits does this body as a whole benefit, what's available to us, because I didn't know that we had a membership with Southwestern Michigan Regional. I mean, if somebody can get that to us, because if there's something that we need to be attending and make ourselves privy of for the residents, I would like to know. But I see that, we incur costs, for that membership. Or is it specifically for other, people within the administration? Also, I see a party store roster, what is that, instructor workshop? Roosters workshop? Like clarity on that, and, I'd like to know if in fact 7654,
It does.
I guess I can put that with, the first one up here, a class that was held over at Harbor, Hotel. If in fact we are training, I know we pay for training that usually goes to AFTC or somewhere in Kalamazoo. But is this another form of training that the city is incurring costs for? And are we trained, well, I guess we need trained people all over America, but are we training people for other communities? And lastly but not least, I see there's 2 costs that we've incurred with KSS Enterprises of South Bend for cleaning supplies. And I also saw one that was smaller for our local fair. Is it a reason that we can't just keep our money in our community and support our own local business for cleaning supplies? Thank you.
Is that noted?
Yes.
There are no other comments or questions. Call for the question.
Commissioner Henry,
No.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This brings us to our update from our county commissioner. None other than the Honorable Commissioner Mamie Yarborough. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Honorable Mayor Mohammed, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Seats, and Honorable Commissioners. To our community, I thank you again for this opportunity, and I miss you all. I'm sorry I hadn't been here in a while, so I do have a few things I'd like to bring you up to date on, and they're not new necessarily, things you already know about, but I'd like to let the community know what Berrien County is doing with, with our area. In 2021, the Berrien County Board approved going out for a grant to our Economic Development Department, of which Dan Fetty is the director. And he applied this grant. I don't know what the requirements were, but it was it was sent in for the city of Benton Harbor, the city of Niles, with input from Cornerstone Alliance Executive Director Rod Cleveland. In 2022, we just got this, and it probably was brought to your attention, but we received $2.6 million. And there is a plan. And so when you go in with another community and all, then things work well. This, I believe, has gone to the Community Development Department, Mr. Little. Yes, and so something will be going on with the $2.6 million. And that's up to you all, up to the city of Niles and Cornerstone Alliance with input in it. There was a dock built on Riverview Drive by Berrien County with, again, grants and all that we are eligible to apply for, and we received the dollars for it. And there is hope to build, I think, 4 or 5 stops. This is for that water taxi. And so to see how hopefully they're all gonna look, please, if you haven't been yet, go on Riverview Drive right in front of Bread Plus Bar and Babes, and see this gorgeous dock that we have. I have rode the boat. One time I got on, they said, we can't bring you back, but it worked out okay because my family drove the car to the hotel and, we were able to get out. But it also has with it a wonderful handicap accessible kayak boat launch. And when I saw it, I thought, I know this thing. In Waterville, Berrien County built a park. And what happens is you can put your kayak on it, and these are rollers. And I think you hold on to the rail and do this, and it puts you in the water. So whatever we know or whatever there is to do, I'm glad we've got it. We got the first one, and they got to figure out how to get money to get the rest of them. I hope it works. But this summer, they did free rides, and I don't quite know what they're going to do next year. But when they start doing them, get on the boat and just see where it takes you. It's your ride also. Then I'd like to let you know our tax sale the last couple of years, because of COVID, I think some good things have come and some that maybe were not so good. But a good thing that has gone on for us is the tax foreclosure sale that we do each year. It's now done on the computer, and this is the second year that we've done it. And when we were doing it on our own, we had to rent the building, bank. We had to have extra security because you bring your money there, just all kinds of things. And so with this, it's on the computer for a month, and you get to look at the property, and you can go out and look at it, and it's marked better and all kinds of things. It has lifted a lot off of Berrien County, dollar-wise, people-wise, all of that. And so it was already done in August, and now the last part of the sale will be September 29th through October 28th at 5 p.m. At 5 p.m. you can't bid anymore, but you can watch it and look at it and watch how it progresses. And what I do have for you from our county treasurer, White, is I'll give it to the clerk. And if you would see that staff and commissioners have this, I would appreciate it. I don't know how many I have, but you may need to make more. And what this does, it tells you how much the property sold for, how much money we collected, on and on and on. But all the information is on this sheet, and you all have it. Then last Friday, we had another meeting, and it's BC BITS. And what it is Berrien County Broadband Internet Task Force. And it was done on Zoom, and it was also done where people could come to the county, to the administration building and listen. And on Zoom, I looked, and there were 51 people on that site, and it stayed almost to the end. It was almost 2 hours. It was at 10, and it was almost 12 o'clock noon when we got through, and there were still 37 people, and these were cities and mayors and citizens and da-da-da-da-da. Because something happened with the FCC. They have a map, and they've looked around, and they said 99.9% has internet, has connection, has this, has that. And when we looked, it was 99.9% that did not have it. And I thought, if we're dealing with the FCC, I mean, everybody knows what that is, and these are the kind of records or the kind of work that they're doing, that's scary. And what Berrien County had done, and we are far ahead of many communities and all, was conduct a study. hired a company and they're working, and it's got other companies, we don't even quite know who's putting in more internet and all, but Comcast gonna have to get their stuff right. You know, they can't continue to just charge us whatever we want, whatever they want. And you think about rural developments, there are all kinds of dollars out there, because I think this COVID made us know how important it is to be connected to something, and something that's dependable and that works, because that's our children's education, our medical, our just everything. And so we're working to make that happen. And you think about, you know, the lines are on your wires. Well, in the rural areas, they're not there. There are no wires like that or large plots of land, but they're working. There are a number of companies that are here now putting in all that they can. Even that makes your cell phone not work. Just, you don't know what all is connected. Your TV not work. So we're working on that, and Berrien County is a leader with this. And we are going to be going out for all the grants and all the things that are available. And we should be at the top of the line because we've done so many other previous things, or are doing it right now in Baroda and Bainbridge and, you know, all the towns you ride through. And so I'm just real proud of the activity and what we're doing. And then I'd like to say thank you to Clerk Tiffany Moore for helping me get this straight and to be able to be here. And I'd like to thank you, the city of Benton Harbor, for making my husband's memorial and helping us to have what we needed to be able to do this. And I wanted so bad. My family wanted it to be at the Charles Yarborough Park. Mickey loved it there. And I think about how long that park has been there, 50, 60 years. Time goes by fast. And so I thank you all. I thank the community for all your well wishes, and just God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to a presentation from the Unified Civic Monument Project. They are present.
Thank you. The presentation is both in person and virtual, so I'm going to turn this back on. And are you able to see the screen from where you're all seated?
We'll just turn it if you need to.
You go ahead and start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to start this evening out by saying we couldn't have got this far without you. And it doesn't matter when you called or came by or asked or visited a booth or bought a t-shirt or attended a pop-up, but all the parts is how we got here today. And so we're so thankful and very proud of our communities. And I was so proud today. I don't know who put those signs up out on Broadway. When I went over to the gallery, went down Broadway and saw those signs of peace, peace. It was so encouraging. And it was just one right after the other. And so I'm just wanted to just say thank you so much. And that's what tonight is all about. It's about peace and justice.
Okay.
The house lights, please.
Thank you. Oh, that's wonderful. Let's try to. So in June, the Unified Civic Monuments Project was very pleased to receive approval from the City of Benton Harbor for placement of the monuments in the Dwight P. Mitchell City Center Park. That same month, the artists that have been selected for the project, David Allen Clark and Harold Woodridge, came to the community. They were part of the Juneteenth celebration. They were in the park after the parade and met with several community members while they were here. And we're starting tonight just with 2 slides that show some of the outreach that we've been doing since since 2020 in Benton Harbor as part of this project. This project really started in the fall of 2020 when arts and culture organizations got together and said, how can we use our unique resources and our unique position in the community to advocate for social justice and civil rights. The project proposes to erect a monument honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, one in each city, St. Joseph and Benton Harbor. Nope, sorry, I'm trying to get to, there we go. We've been doing a lot of work over the past 2 years to advocate and to get this project going. As you know, we've come here before. We've raised $500,000 to date. We've received the site approval for Benton Harbor as well as St. Joseph. And now we're in the process of refining the design for the monuments themselves. You saw a sneak peek in June of a design. And we have since had a lot of dialogue with the community, with the committees, with the partners, with the artists about that design. And they have been working on that since. And so before I hand it over to the artists to present their design to you, I do just want to mention that there's 2 critical parts to this design that we have seen throughout. One is the uniqueness of having 2 monuments, one in each city. There's many monuments of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. throughout this nation. But we think that it's truly unique to have sister cities, twin cities, have a monument, one in each city. I know they're loaded terms. We hope to create a unifying factor. Each monument will be unique in its own right, but it will nod and point to the monument in its neighboring city and ask individuals to visit both. Additionally, we sought artists who created monuments that were specifically engaging. We wanted a monument that people could see eye to eye with, that they could engage with, that they could sit next to, that they could spend time with. And we selected artists Harold Woodridge and David Allen Clark based on their ability to create beautiful monument spaces that engage the viewers and ask them to spend time with them. And so with that, I'm going to ask Harold Woodridge to join us virtually. He's in Indiana, and he's going to share his presentation of the monument design with you.
First, I'd like to thank Mohammed for inviting us to come and present today. This has been quite a journey and actually quite an honor to participate in this process and to try and bring this vision to life. So let's start with what we were asked to do. First, to create a pair of monuments, one for each town, Benton Harbor and St. Joe, that were not the same but would relate to each other while celebrating Dr. King, but to also include something that made a nod to 2 local heroes who've made a difference in your community. We wanted both of these pieces to be destinations, some places where people wouldn't just look at it and nod, smile, and walk by. We wanted something that was more than just civic decoration. We wanted something that was meaningful, that people could interact with when they were there. So could go to the next slide. So at the Juneteenth celebration, we did a little mock-up where we tried to at least get a sense of the scale and how the piece would work in the location. And you can always imagine what you think something is going to look like. We wanted to actually put something in place so we could see if there were any issues or things that people had comments that we could address. So some of that feedback's here. How do we make sure there's connection between the 2 towns? The 2 walls that we had used as a place to actually place the secondary figures, people felt that was maybe a little too obtrusive. It blocked the view of the park. So what do we do with that? If we take those walls down, what happens to those figures? Is this the right place for it? And how do we make Dr. King more uplifting? And the original design the way we had presented it. It didn't show how we would maintain some of the elements that were already there in that location. There are flower beds that exist right now. We wanted to see how we would address that as well. So, next slide. So the top photo is from when we were there for the Juneteenth celebration. You can see the flower beds there, and you can see the two walls on either side of me standing there as a stand-in for Dr. King. So the first thing that we did was we're going to eliminate those two walls and find another way to include those the secondary figures in the space. And we replaced those two walls by changing that center wall into an obelisk. So it would be three-sided. One side would have the quote from Dr. King that's directly behind his figure. Another side would have a mural that would be done in collaboration with kids in the schools in your community. And the third would have an explanation of what you're seeing, what the Unified and Civic Mining Project's goals were, and even have a donor wall, so we'd be able to celebrate the people that helped make this happen. Okay, so what do we do to incorporate something that talks about the local history and maybe ties into that honoring of the local heroes? Well, we thought it'd be nice if when this project is actually given to the school student, that the assignment be to do something that actually celebrates local history, something that ties into the local communities, something that's meaningful to your community, and not just something that's generic. So that's our hope, is that when that assignment is given out, that we try and do something that is unique to your history. Okay, so what do we do to make a nod to connect the two towns together? One of the things that we thought we would do is we create a graphic, a little logo that celebrates that partnership. And we took the Unified Civic Monuments Project logo with Dr. King, that cool mosaic that's behind him or over him, and then do something that is reminiscent of the bridge that goes across the river, and literally name the two towns that are part of it, so that you really have a graphic that is linking the two of you together. We've also created a graphic of the bridge itself. You can see that in the lower right-hand corner, the little drawing of the bridge, and the names Benton Harbor and St. Joseph on either side of it. We would use that graphic as a repeating element on the plaza that the sculpture is on. And when we go to one of the other shots, you'll be able to see how that keeps incorporated, goes all the way around the base. So this is an overhead view of what the entrance to the park would look like. The path that goes through the park, you can see at the top of the photograph, that triangle that you see at the top of the circle is the top of the obelisk that would have the King quote on the front, the mural on one side, and then the graphic of the Civic Monuments Project and the donor wall on the other side. The black circle that you see that's surrounding the yellow circle is where we would have that repeated graphic with your names and the drawing of the bridge. The table and chairs, we want to do something that is maybe somewhat weathered, just something that gives it a patina similar to a patina that the sculpture itself will have. And we're working with some fabricators to help us figure out the best way to do that in a way that gives it the right finish and make sure that it's durable, since this is something that's going to be outside all the time. The sidewalk that wraps around that would literally wrap all the way around the back of the plaza and tied to the walkway that goes through the park. There's also an element that you're going to see a little bit later on that brings back those flower beds that exist now. So we're not going to abandon the idea of having some sort of greenery as a part of this entrance. We're going to incorporate it. Next slide. So this is shows you the view from the street walking into the park. That's the top. You can see on either side of the obelisk in the back, you got these flower beds. We brought those back. And if you look at the image from the opposite side, you'll see the flower beds in the foreground and what it would look like if you saw the mural and the donor wall. Obviously, from that side, you'll be able to see Dr. King. So from this perspective, we haven't put Dr. King into the environment yet. We will see that next. Well, not yet. Okay, so we're also going to take that. That's what happened to the secondary figures. If you remove that other wall, we're going to actually move those to the flower bed, so they have the framing Dr. King on the other side, and there'd be busts of those figures, whoever it is we decide to honor. We haven't chosen those people yet. Okay, so now Dr. King coming on dim. The pose that we presented in June seemed somewhat packed. So we want to do something that was more uplifting, more energetic, something that had a great chance of actually being a rallying point for people that came to see the sculpture. So he's going to be welcoming people to the table with his right hand and pointing with his left. It's open, and hopefully, having this pose here is more inviting than we had before. It also welcomes some interaction. If you wanted to, you could actually clasp his hand because it's open in much the same way if you're actually going to shake hands with somebody. And so when we were there in June, the question came up about what would happen if we made the sculpture of Dr. King larger, if we had it on a larger pedestal. So here's two examples. We have a photograph of David here on the left next to, I believe that's President Bush. And the thing that happens when you have a sculpture that's that much larger, it's almost as though you're deifying him, and you get a chance to see him, and you can stand next to him, but you don't really interact with him because the scale's so out of whack, it makes him look like he's a giant. If you put him on a pedestal, like what you see on the right side, which is another shot of Dr. King, you don't actually get to interact with him because he's so far above everyone else. So going back to the charge we were given of trying to do something that people could interact with and feel like they're a part of, we took a look at what would happen if we would make him larger, and it seemed like it got in the way of the one of the underlying goals that we were charged with. Okay, so now that we've talked about that, we kind of brought Dr. King into the drawing, seeing it in place. So you could see now that we have this concept. I've even talked about the title of the piece. It's called A Seat at the Table. And the idea here is that we wanted to honor Dr. King and celebrate Dr. King's legacy but also make a nod to the future and what all his work has accomplished. What he was trying to do is to make sure that we had a voice, literally having a seat at the table. So we wanted to represent that. He's made it possible for us now to have a seat at the table. He's inviting people to come and join him there. We've got several seats sitting around the table. And there are the one in the lower left corner, the ones that's closest to the screen. That seat hasn't been brought to the table yet, but that's part of the job that still needs to be done. You can see on the right side of the screen, we have a young man who's actually taking one of those seats and he's bringing it to the table. So he represents the next generation. Those people that are going to continue the work of Dr. King, because we're not done yet. But this wasn't intended to be a hopeful honoring of Dr. King and understanding that the work's not done, and we want to keep moving forward with it. In this last frame here was an attempt to show what would happen if people are actually in the park. The guy sitting at the seat off to the left, two little kids sitting at the table with Dr. King, and a woman who's standing there taking a selfie of herself with Dr. King. And from the angle that she's at, you'd also be able to get Dr. King and a quote that's on the wall behind him as well. And I guess at this point, Tammy, if they have any questions, David said that he has no, that he can't hear anything. So I was supposed to relay if there are any questions that we could answer, I would pass those on to him. Unless, David, you actually can hear anything now because you've unmuted yourselves. Oh, no, you didn't.
Turn the lights back up.
Oh, okay, they said they can hear now, so.
Do that, just not be up there. Do you want me to keep the image up, or is it okay just turn it off at this point?
That's okay. It's light, it's up to them.
There we go.
So can he hear us?
Yes, he can.
Thank you, first of all, for the presentation and the artist for his diligent and artful eye in imagining and allow folks to see what's in his mind.
I don't know about David. Question.
Harold, the mayor is speaking, and are you able to, I'm going to relay to you what he says if you can't hear it all, but
Okay.
he's thanking you right now for your presentation.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you. Things have come a ways, and I'm liking what I am seeing in what was presented tonight that didn't seem to take away from the background, put background in the way of the actual view of the park. I'm loving it, and I'm hoping that this is an opportunity for us to build on our present. Basically a little bit of our past, present, and they already added the babies coming to the table, so all right.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you all for the presentation. It's really beautiful. I want to find out what does the quote say, because I couldn't read it from my angle. What quote did you just?
Yeah, let me just bring that back up for me to see. It is about the table of brotherhood, and I don't know if I can bring it up big enough to
Did you
actually.
read it? Because I couldn't, my angle, I couldn't read it.
Mhm. I'm sorry, I don't have the full, I'm not able to see it fully, but I have a dream that one day to sit at the table of brotherhood, and it's the fuller quote, and I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me. Can you see this?
Mm-mm. Is Harold able to?
Chair
tell us
recognizes
what
Mayor Pro Tem Dwayne C.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Actually,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Tammy, large, if you scroll over the bottom, there's a further large.
Harold, would you just read the quote for us as well? They're not able to see the presentation at this point. I have a dream that one day the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. That's the quote. Sorry.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. We have come a long ways from where we started from. My question is, who's the other silhouette of the person that's on the backdrop? There is more backdrops and silhouettes of heads and other people. And my hope still is that we can it's a beautiful project. Nobody's taken away from the art. Nobody's taken away from the dream. Nobody's taken away from any of that. I would rather have you take down Thomas Jefferson over here and put Martin Luther King and make that part that where kids can come and shake hands there. Because there is a farmer's market, there's phases and developments of that that's still going to be there. There also is a master plan that is in place. So somehow we're going to have to try to, because there's like another phase of the farmer's market that's coming. I believe it is another building. Somehow we're going to have to coattail that and find out how much actual footage that you need there. And also, after the project is done, who's responsible for insuring it? Because after there's a monument there, with that magnitude, if some damage happens to it, then who's going to be responsible for insuring the project? That if Martin loses his hand or finger come off, or just a child, a little boy bringing the table, somebody slips and falls over, who's going to be responsible for insuring the statues in the project?
So that is a joint collaboration between Krasla Art Center and the African American History and Literature Gallery. So presently Krasla Art Center carries fine art insurance on all of its objects. And so that insures the object itself. And we would work with the Browns to ensure that the statue is insured, and that includes an amount of liability as well. So that would not be a cost incurred on the city.
Thank you. Last question, Honorable Mayor, for me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. With this project, again, I would like to know the footage that we're going to have to give of that park to, I don't want to use the word donate, but it's not like somebody will come and lift up that statue. Well, it might happen. But hopefully not. So how much footage is going to have to be given? And also, the last statement would be that we did vote on the statue, not on the pillars, not on walls, not on all of that. The agreement was on the statue in place in downtown Beth Harbor of Martin Luther King, not of little kids, not of all that. It looks wonderful, I'm not disputing that. But as our beloved city manager, one of his famous statements is, God is not making no more property. So the more we give now, we got to start out how we can hold out. So we need to know the actual square footage that we're going to be given. That's a lot. I mean, what it's looking like now is massive. When you guys were out there before, it looked massive. So I would just suggest that maybe we can do as a commission go out there and see the actual footage and make sure that we're not embarging on the final development phase, the farmer's market, because that park we are utilizing. It's one of the most utilized parks that we do have. So I do want to thank you for the vision of it and seeing it come to pass. But I do want to say it's still a little bit bulky, you know, and everybody don't want to shake Martin Luther King hand. I would prefer them seeing him lift it up. But that's just my opinion. Because when you start touching and pulling and all this other kind of stuff on something, even though it's art, things can happen. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, for that time.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Like to say good evening to everyone coming out. In regards to this, been working with the Monument Group and Tammy and also Mac and Sharon. Can't say when. I don't want to say at the very beginning, but close. And I can remember the different public hearings we had, and we had quite a few. And I attended at least many as I could. We even had the public come out. And as some people like to say, well, we even touched the inner city. We had them come out at the different parks we did. We even had some small entertainment. We had Eric Fisher come out, somebody else come and play across the street at City Center Park. Me, myself, being co-chair of Parks and Rec, and if we want to say we need an attraction that is worldwide, world known, that will go on until you hear it. That is the attraction that just about every city and every state has gave this name, recognized this family, recognized the deeds, and gave this street a name. And the things that he had to go through, and the misunderstanding of why he had a dream. His dream was not for one color. His dream was for all mankind. It's the same mistake that we have on other Black speakers, voices, experiences. So it wasn't so much that he wanted all the Black people to have their garbage delivered, picked up. He wanted everybody's garbage to be picked up. He just wanted fair wages. And we looked at all the places, and I see this, and I agree more now with the second phase. Because yes, I would like to go sit next to a bronze statue, take a picture of him. I would rather do that and then go to the zoo and take a picture of one that's next to a gorilla or a monkey, which they make available. You can go to a zoo, they stand right there by the cage, you can reach out and grab you right by your neck. Now, I understand the mumbling. That's me. I take it to the extreme. Martin Luther King and that park does not mess with farmers market. You can't put a table there anyway. There's 2 benches already there. There's flower beds already there. Nobody uses the mid part of that. Now, how do I know? I'm there 365 days a year. You can ask anybody. I haven't seen anybody with anything large enough to interfere with the traffic flow or the appearance in that park. Thank you very much, Honorable Mayor. I support this 100%. Possible 200%.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Just like to thank the committee, worked very hard on this, the grueling hours and what you came up with is look real good. I'm kind of anxious to head down and see it live. taking my grandkids,
Hmm.
explaining to them what's this all about. This was something in my lifetime, I was probably their age, coming up, but it's real good. I looked at the picture there, the background stuff, it didn't seem to me, I don't know how much space it takes up, but from the pictures, looks like it's well suited and not interfering with the any other thing. So, looking forward to see it happen.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Ice.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. You know, being the co-chair of this committee, you know, all the hard work, we started this back in 2019. 2019, you know, when I asked the commission just to listen to me as I bring a resolution to them just to get this thing off the ground. And I got a lot of backlash, you know. So this took a long time in the making because art had this unique way to bring people together. This is the perfect project, perfect fit to bring these two cities together, and Martin Luther King is the perfect person that can do this. And now is the time. That was the statement when we started. Now is the time. You know, with what's going on in the world, and this is for the future. This is the future for our kids, grandkids, and right now, you know. So I support this. Thank you for all the hard work you did, Ms. Ferber and Brown, put in hours of work. You know, it's a dream come true. Thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Clark Griffin.
All right, first of all, take my pass down. Yeah. Being the fourth ward commissioner where that's gonna take place, I actually saw the model during the Juneteenth. I actually went in person for the mock-up, so this how it looks in person. We have a lot, as we stated, I believe it was the last public hearing, already going on at that park. We have the National Night Out, that's every year, and we use a lot of that park. We have the farmer market, which have vendor all the way to where that space is. We have the Juneteenth, who actually have vendors out in that space. So it is being used and utilized. We do have vendors out there. And we also have the Blossom Time Parade. When you have parades like Juneteenth, Blossom Time, it's the only park that we have in Ben Harbor where we got two parades, not just one, but two going through. A lot of people like to sit in the park and see the parade. And I saw it in person. From what I seen in person, you cannot, if you sit in that park, you cannot see the parade with all this stuff. Even just sitting there, some people like to sit in the park and watch the cars go by, whatever. We have local entrepreneurs that does, like Miss Kiva, she does workout. We have them use them for all kinds of stuff in that park. And we also have another pavilion coming. We have other phases coming, other of that also. We have a fitness thing coming, obstacle course. So we got a lot of stuff going on. We have concerts. We have, that's the only real park for the family, you know, family and residents to really use and do things in. And I remember the last time when he was there, we talked to you guys about that was too much. The perimeter was too much going on. And I don't really see if you guys were supposed to come back with something different. Only thing I see different is like the bronze statue, but it's still a lot. As far as conversation, we have, everybody probably know about Martin Luther King, I'm sure. And those that don't, we have a library right across the way where with kids' books and adults' books. You know, we don't want to turn this to arts in the park. We have that across the street already. So we agreed to the statue or a monument, even if you want to put it on a monument to make it higher and put those wordings. We did not agree to all that. Pull the tape. We said that this was too much. Only difference I seen was the little cross, and he described what this stuff was, because we asked what was all this. So I agree to step two. Of course, all that, but all this other stuff, because it is being utilized, and it's a lot. It is a lot. And we stated that the last time, when we asked you to bring us something back with less. We don't want to overwhelm the park. No, we want to keep that part for the residents to do whatever. We got all kinds of things going on all year, and even more coming up. And the Martin Luther King dream, as he stated later, that his dream had turned into a nightmare. So I think it maybe could be something else picked to put on that monument too. So as far as that, I don't even see nothing different than, I don't know if it was not understood or just say, I'm gonna do it anyway, because it's the same thing that we said was too much. So, and as far as, it's another part to it about making the city manager the liaison. I thought we made Commissioner Ison a liaison. And so that part, no, either. I mean, he has the duty in a position already. So, thank you.
So I'm gonna just quote, because I do agree with our fourth ward commissioner. I think that his I Have a Dream speech, which just some history on it, they gave him 5 minutes and they threw him at the end of the program because he was a rabble rouser and they couldn't control what he was going to say. So they said, maybe by the time you take the mic, everybody would have dispersed. But the speech ended up being 19 minutes because what he said resonated with the masses. But the part that you pulled out was whomever. It's, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. Now, I know that Berrien County was named after a slave owner, John M. Berrien, who was the Attorney General of Georgia, and later he was a senator for Georgia. I don't think that that quote is really fitting for this context. There's a lot of other quotes in his I Have a Dream speech, pardon me, that I think that would be more appropriate. Because when you start talking about former slave owner, then that produces a whole nother kind of conversation. So I think that that's not appropriate. The table, inviting to the table, that's in the context. But I think that this is something different here. I'm not going to try to pick the quote, but I think that he's talking about, and I'm just going to just give you, he says that 50 years ago, the great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon of light to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check.
Yes, sir. Cash the check.
When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men, as well as white men, will be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. So, I think that we can look at this entire project again. I don't want, because it's a great idea and it's a great cause. So I don't want it to be our discussion tonight to diminish the greatness of what you have done and what this project will bring, but it's sensitive. And it has to be done in a way where it brings life and agreeable. So I would ask for your patience, and I ask that the table when it comes to that.
No further support.
So that'll be when we bring it to vote, but I'm just saying it now so it's no surprise.
Support that.
I have a last question.
So, okay, yes, sir.
Being with this project group and taking part in it, what do you, or any of the commissioners, have a suggested category in which we should find that quote out of? Because we can come up with people who have favorite quotes, who might say a quote might offend her, but don't offend me. One that might offend me doesn't. So is there a difference? Can we kind of like one that fits all, or?
I think that this is not the space and the place to really hash that out.
So we come back to Mr. Mitchell.
But we'll come back to the committee.
Yeah.
And do it there. And I think that maybe we can have more citizens, we can do some type of town hall. We can get more citizen input on what the people. Now, I know we've had different workshops and I know it's tough, but when we get to the 1 yard line, we want to touch down. We don't want to punt, we don't want to fumble, we don't want to. So.
Understood. So that was the only reason why I asked you. So we'll know from when we go to bed tonight, we know what we have to do. That's all. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Chair recognizes.
So yeah, I was just gonna say, there's just a lot here. And I do remember in our last presentation, this was a topic of discussion because I suggested one of the quotes from when Dr. King spoke in the Detroit gym when he talked to the entire population. And to me, that was one of his most powerful speeches that was little known, little heard. There was a lot of information there. And to Commissioner Clark Griffin, since we're going here, we did talk about those backs being too large for that particular park. We said that. And so we were supposed to get a rework of this particular project. So I was confused. That's why I was sitting there like, why? It's the same project being brought to us. And we had this discussion in public in one of my committees. So I agree it should be tabled until we discuss this again. It was too large. One of the discussions was a different park and this being too large for that particular park. and just about the fact that we're getting ready to work on the master plan and working through that to actually place that in a location. So we need to table this. Like he said, it's the last, like the mayor said, this is, the last push towards this. We agree to the statute. We think it's wanted and it's needed, but there's some rework that needs to be done.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and I do agree with my constituents, Commissioner Griffin, Evan Clark Griffin, and Commissioner Henderson, that we agreed on the statute. We didn't agree on a monument. We agreed on the statute. We didn't agree on a little boy, no tables, no chairs, no backdrops, no other head getting put back there. So why don't we just, for now, concentrate on what we voted on, and that's the statute? Because now we're making this into bringing people to the table and putting somebody else's head and quotes, and as we've already heard, that some quotes are merely offensive. We can say Detroit, his last speech was at Mason Temple, Church of God in Christ, Memphis, Tennessee. One of the most phenomenal speeches that he did have before he died. If we still got a dream from 67, 63, then we're in bad shape anyway. And I hear everybody talking about what this King statue gonna do, but until we do something with the educational system, until we can get beyond Black history being taught once a month in our schools, you still got the Mockingbird going on in certain other schools, where the kids are going to other schools and other kids can't wait to get up and read the Mockingbird when they get to that one chapter. Statue is not going to take hatred out of people's heart that are not from here. The other part that I was going to say that I kind of want to figure this out, because I did look at the bottom of that, and around that it said Ben Harbor, St. Joe, Ben Harbor, St. Joe, Ben Harbor, St. Joe, going around in a circle. And I can't find really anything in St. Joe that has Ben Harbor wrapped around it with St. Joe. Not even Harbor Shores, not even the hotel, not even a lot of stuff that's in other areas that they got Ben Harbor neck to neck with St. Joe on the statue over there. Is that statue over there, President Art, right now that has Ben Harbor and St. Joe knocked together on it like that? That's going to be
The monument has been
monument?
approved at the Margaret B. Upton
No.
Arboretum.
I'm saying, is there any statue in that area that has Ben Harbor and St. Joe, that has Ben Harbor and St. Joe wrapped around together at the bottom of it like that I'm seeing on the bottom of this statue? Wasn't that on there? It's on there, right? Ben Harbor, St. Joe at the bottom of that statue. Martin Luther King here in Ben Harbor. Is there any statue on St. Joe that's got Ben Harbor wrapped around St. Joe?
No, it doesn't. No, there is not one. That's why we're here tonight. That's one of the reasons why the project is happening, because that's the way we've been living. That's the way we've been living.
The unified monument would have the same.
If you can find monument,
The
Ben
two
Harbor.
would.
And two would
Yeah.
be.
The two monuments
We have
have the
issues.
same.
I agree.
Kind of like,
That's why really, this is not really,
It's
this
not.
is a
Yeah.
presentation.
if I may,
Last comment, please.
and I was on a roll until Honorable Muhammad spoke. Being a little girl, when polio had broke out and everybody had to get shots, the crying throughout the community. As a little girl, listening to my mother and them, we had black and white TV then, and the screen didn't even fill the whole screen. We live in a very technical world now where there's so much ungratefulness that it's just pathetically sad. But for a moment, I was caught up after listening to the cries throughout this community that there was like a plague itself after Martin Luther King died. You reawoken something in me. For a moment, I just was feeling like what it is to finally, as a black person, to be honored in America. But then I think about, as he was talking, everything else around my world that affects me, that has happened, including George Floyd, when we tried to bring our cities together. We wanted Black Lives Matter in front of our high school, and we wanted it in St. Joe too. And just for a moment, I was sitting here thinking, as the other commissioners were thinking some other type of placement. I think that's a beautiful place, but I think I'd rather go up in a park up in the community where I live. And that's the cries that I hear of the people in the community in Benton Harbor. When are we going to work on the neighborhoods? I mean, downtown is the most vibrant place of any community. I agree with that. From communities all across this country that I visited and saw how vital and vibrant and beautiful communities are in other states and cities and countries even. And they are, but we can't forget the innermost part of where people dwell in their homes. And for this statue, somebody said something that just poked my heart. For the mere thought of him sitting down here on Main Street, where a lot of us have headed across that bridge to jail, to an unjust court system, to have him disrespected, and something just pricked my heart. And y'all just pray for me as we work together to find a resolve of it all.
Thank you for the presentation. And our liaison, Commissioner Isom, will be in contact. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, please don't make me leave this seat without at least being able to say something.
You have
There are so many windows in this room tonight. And I get it. We live in a community, in a neighborhood, and in a world that we all have our stories, real stories. This is such a tiny baby step, even though I understand the legacy of the man. It cannot and it will not, no, fulfill or fix all of our journeys and all of the stories and all of the pain and the suffering that we've endured together and as individuals. We have to start somewhere. If we cannot tonight move forward, that's great. This conversation had to happen. The last one had to happen. The one before that had to happen. Because there's not a place. We're not making the space for us to give of ourselves and our emotions and for us to connect like we need to do to get more than just this done. We got a whole list of things that we want done. Oh, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. All of us have. I get that. And I just wanted to say something tonight, to say, let's do whatever it is that we need to do. So some of the pain is we can be relieved and not, maybe our health will be better. Maybe high blood pressure will go away because we're carrying so much. This project is just bringing it out. I get that. And it's good. It's a bittersweet. But let us hear ourselves as we're speaking to each other. Not about just how much and how much space and all that other stuff. We got issues. When are we going to talk about them? When and where? So that when things do happen, the happy stuff, maybe we can go ahead and get through it without trying to pour in the oil of everything that nobody's heard. We've never got a chance to speak. All of you that are sitting here tonight, my God, we don't know each other. We're all busy and we have no idea of how we feel and what the real story is. Somewhere that needs to happen. Please, because we're hurting. Children are hurting. Thank y'all. I'm good.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a real pragmatic situation that we're in with our donors and with the amount of time that it takes to create a bronze sculptures. And I wonder if we could take the chance of agreeing on the sculpture and the table, or any, if we can agree on, if we can take a vote on some portion of this design tonight, that we could move forward in our work and agree to come back to other elements, if that's a possibility or not.
That's
And
about money. The artists are getting paid. They're on the time clock.
Well, and the reality of creating bronze. And if we can't do that this evening, just some really clear parameters for how to work moving forward so that we don't lose this opportunity, because we really could.
Right. Well, what I can assure you is that the project will move forward, but at the right time and in the right way. And you can assure your donors and those working on the project that this body, working with the community and you, will make sure that this happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
This brings us to our citizens' comments, which the city clerk will gather the list. Please respect the 3 minutes, or 4 minutes, pardon me, 3 minutes. And the city clerk will call as registered on the list.
Elizabeth McCree.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here in my capacity today as the attorney for the city of Benton Harbor versus Leela Taylor. You all know her better as Lady T. She was previously represented by the Public Defender's Office for Berrien County until I came in to take her case pro bono after being contacted by her son, Wesley Fleming, who is serving as her power of attorney due to the fact that she currently has stage 3 bladder cancer, has just completed several treatments, and she is currently facing criminal charges from the city of Benton Harbor. I've heard a lot. I reviewed the video from last week. I've had some conversations with other people who have been involved in this case, and we just had a hearing, motion hearing today at 1:30 in front of Judge Cotter over at the courthouse. And I want to make sure, and I'll say this, I have agreed to do a Facebook Live with Ashley Hines tomorrow at 7 o'clock to explain this further, because I obviously can't explain it in 3 minutes. So you can tune in to be able to see that. I believe, I think I'm wrong about this, that every single one of you is friends with me on Facebook. You can also call me if you have any questions, 269-873-0208. But I wanted to be clear about this before this meeting closed tonight. Illustrative enumeration and the tickets that are being issued to the citizens, both residential and commercial, in the city of Benton Harbor are criminal misdemeanors. Your code gives a maximum possible penalty of 90 days in jail and or a $500 fine.
Wow.
That is in your code. The people who are being ticketed for this at the courthouse are facing a criminal misdemeanor. The end of their charges is OM. Today, your city attorney admitted on the record, in our case, that there was a letter sent to Ms. Taylor that gave her 90 days to demolish the building, but he authorized the charge, the criminal charge, after 60 days. And he knew that. My motion was denied today. I'm going to be appealing that. But I wanted to be clear on the record here with you all today that these are criminal misdemeanors. And there's other people who have been charged with this charge. And some of them are essentially on probation until the buildings are demolished. Your city attorney also said today that none of the buildings have been demolished. So there are people who could face show cause and probation violation after pleading to a criminal charge for illustrative enumeration, and none of the buildings have been demolished. So if the goal is to tear down the blight, and these charges have been in front of the courts for this period of time, and none of the buildings have been torn down, are you really doing what it is that you're trying to get done in clearing the city of Benton Harbor and addressing the issue? Thank you.
Emma Kennard,
And PJ.
MPJ.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you for your time. A lot of familiar faces here. 16 years I volunteered with Emma Kennard at the Fresh Start Children's Garden, currently on Pearl and May. 16 years, hundreds and hundreds of pounds of organic vegetables have been raised and planted and weeded and given away and eaten, and the mayor's own children, many of your extended relatives. And we are grateful. We are grateful for the relationship we've had with the city, with the lot we have now, water, new faucets outside. But we do still have a problem, and it's a tree. And it's a tree on Pearl, east side of our May and Pearl corner, southwest corner. And it is chewing up the sidewalk. Limbs are coming down. And because our program for the children was curtailed during COVID, quote unquote, we have families coming and a lot of seniors and walking along there, or kids on their bikes, or people sometimes like to bring a wagon to come get the bounty. It's putting people at risk. It's an old maple. It's had its time, and it's time to go. So we are imploring to get rid of the maple tree. It kind of reminds me of The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that book, but its time has come. So I'm pleading, asking, Mr. Public Safety Director's gone. I don't know who this goes to, but take a second look at that maple and cut it down.
Yes. And if we don't address this, sometimes this can become a nightmare. I have mentioned this before. I think pretty much you all have heard me mention that tree before. I think the mayor, I specifically heard you said you would address that. I think it was in February. That tree is just standing there and limbs are still falling. One lady had a rental, and she could have almost lost her life, but it hit the back end of that vehicle instead of hitting her. So we've got a real serious problem. The sidewalk is at different levels, which is a hazard also. Someone that might not know that sidewalk walking at night could actually trip and hurt themselves. So that tree is a real problem. We had one limb removed when we first moved there.
Yeah.
From our little monies. But that's on the tree lawn. And that's a responsibility of the city that that tree comes down. And so I'm asking that you all, which we look like we both on at the same time, but it's the same conversation, that we want that tree removed, hopefully this year, because it's a menace and it's going to become a real problem at some point. So we hope that we can get all of you all to make sure that this happens, because this is a commission here, and I feel that all of you are responsible for the concerns of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard and PJ, for your years of commitment. We do realize that is a shortcoming of the city. You have brought it to our attention before, and we do intend to have that addressed as speedily as possible. But my Aziza, she's at Tennessee State now, and her handprints
It's on them.
is on the yellow bill.
Yeah. All of your children.
All
They
of
look
them,
like him.
So they all have come through the Fresh Start.
16 years.
16 years. And we will work toward that. Thank you for your reminder.
Lee Reed.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'd like to give you an update. I'm Lee Reed, Chairman of Ben Harbor's Planning Commission. Slowly but surely, the master planning is taking place. I've given all of you early copy of the press release that will be put out tomorrow. If there's anything that needs to be corrected or changed, Mr. Lippen's contact information is on the sheet. First workshop will be at Second Baptist Church on October the 19th. That's a Wednesday from 6 to 7. The co-hosts will be Commissioners Henry and Seats. The second workshop will be at the Virginia Edwards Community Center, Thursday, October the 20th from 6 to 7. The co-hosts will be Clark Griffin and Commissioner Adams. The third will be at the Joel Smello Teen Center, Boys and Girls Club. Tuesday, October the 25th, 6 to 7:30. And the co-hosts will be Commissioners Henry and Commissioner Isom. The fourth workshop will be Wednesday, October the 26th, 6 to 7:30. And the co-hosts will be Commissioners Edwards and Singleton. Now, I would like to bring to your attention that this master planning process will be going on until May of next year. So if there's an opportunity or you feel like something needs to be done, we still have plenty of time to do it. This is a living document. It changes as we proceed. There's nothing etched in stone. Even if you were to adopt it, it's still subject to change as we go along. And I want to make that very clear to everybody. This is the citizens' plan. You have 4 more opportunities for the citizens to be involved. If you all want to switch up, come to every single meeting. Also, I want to indicate that it says here that the next meeting of the commission, you are adjourned until the 10th. It's next Monday. You can meet again. Okay, that's the day when we're going to have our advisory meeting for the planning commission. So that might be a minor conflict, but all of the meetings will be recorded and they will be posted on the website. So if there's anything that you need to see, you won't miss anything. Now, we still are going to have hearings or workshops on the riverfront, downtown, and the harbor. So that's in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Nesbitt.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to commend the mayor for his knowledge of history, especially on the subject that we were talking about tonight. I grew up in a town in southeast Missouri where Black history was taught on a frequent basis, not just one day, one time. But my statement tonight is that we also like to thank the city manager for the work that we've been doing on the city, on the streets and things. We getting the water lines and things put into the house. I had mine put in last week, and things that seem to be working well. And I also saw some of the trucks come out and fill some of the holes and things in the streets. But I still have a concern about whether or not they're gonna all be done about that time. I don't know whether they'll be done by the time that we get the first snowfall or whatever. And if we don't, then do we have a plan of how we're gonna do everything else in that? But that was a statement that was made last meeting about the streets being cleaner than they'd ever been. I disagree with that because we do not have a sweeper. We do not have the chipper. Have we received those things yet?
The chipper came in today and the sweeper should be.
But we have not used it prior to today. And that's why I don't understand. How did they get so clean all of a sudden? Only time I saw a sweeper was during May when we had the Blossom Parade down on Riverview Drive. Nothing in my neighborhood, nothing on Cross Street, nothing on Pearl Street, nothing on Broadway, but the streets are clean. I'm not making this up. It's in writing right here that the streets are cleaner. And I disagree with that because we have had Mr. Yarborough clean, was over the public work, Michael Dancer. We used to have trucks coming around picking up stuff every week. The streets were clean. Somebody tell me, how can this be cleaner now than they've ever been? Unless you were sucking it up, or somebody was trying to go around and look at them in braille, but they would use the wrong part of their body trying to feel what was going on with it. It's here. It's in black and white. Thank you, City Clerk, for putting everything in here that has been recorded, because it's here. And somebody answer that to me. Give me that answer. I'm not beating nobody up. These are constructive criticisms, which normally turn around and help you when people start criticizing things that you're doing. I've been criticized on all the jobs that I've had, being manager, vice president of quality department. I got criticized, but I took those things, those statements, and turned them into something that was positive. So it's in there. So somebody explain that to me. How did the streets get so clean now? Thank you.
Mr. Duncan.
Hello, everybody. I would like to be able to come here and say what I have to say in my 3 minutes time without anybody jumping in and saying anything. I won't take 3 minutes, but I would like to be able to ask you guys a question about 5G. All of you guys have read something about it, but I like for during some of these sessions you have when you have nothing else to talk about other than somebody else's business, to be able to talk about 5G and the effects that it's having on our people here in Ben Harbor. We got I heard some kind of ban that's coming. Is that attached to 5G? And is it going to help the citizens? You guys know about 5G, I'm sure, right? We've talked about it over and over again, but every time we come here and say something about it, you guys draw up like a raisin. What is it about 5G that you guys don't want to talk about? Is it anything you guys don't want to say? Because you've been doing a good job of it up until now. Now, I'm going to leave you with that. But I would love to see on our agenda, instead of us being at the bottom of the list like we are today about the statue, I like the citizens' voice to be at the top of this damn list about 5G and anything else that affects us as citizens. It's the citizens, and I thank them for making you guys take notice and do something about the city. If the citizens had not said anything, the streets would never have been fixed. And you know this. You guys up there for a reason, and if you're not going to do the things that the citizens need you to do, like check this 5G thing and see what it's doing to us, then what good are you guys to the citizens? They just replaced you with some white people that will come in here and they hate us worse than. Just do your job and don't have us coming up here asking you over and over the same damn question all the time.
Thank you. all the residents and presenters. And an update from my county commissioner. This brings us to our consent calendar. Chair recognizes Commissioner.
Yes, I'd like to suspend the rules and add an item to the agenda. Discussion about city managers and employees. I'd like to add that to the agenda.
Support. It's a closed session.
It's a closed session.
Yeah, it is.
A closed session.
I'd like to make a motion to remove the resolution to approve the monument design honoring Dr. Martin King Jr. for authorization. Motion is made by the mayor and supported by Rev. Pro Tem Seats.
Also, the item of when I touched these, they came in as separate items. So authorization for the city manager to serve as liaison to the Unified Civic
This is to
Monument.
remove it just totally. That's
Okay,
what
but
it is.
that was a question, because when I went in the link, which was helpful, it was separate with the links, not sure if the wording was the
It's all
same.
in the same.
Okay.
Motion is made, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Seats. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Isom,
No.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yeah.
Commissioner Adams.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
No.
Commissioner Henderson,
Please repeat the motion.
To remove.
to remove
Are we
the
tabling?
resolution to approve the monument design honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and authorization for the city manager to serve as the liaison.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
To table.
to remove altogether.
Oh, to remove it. Yes.
Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
motion carried.
To remove, I thought we were tabling. I'm sorry.
It's the same thing.
Oh, okay, so we.
Is there any items that should be separated from the consent calendar? Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Yes, Mayor, a resolution to approve a monthly travel stipend and, a resolution for partnership with the Michigan State, Work Development Institution. I would like those two pulled out, please.
Support.
Hearing none, is there a motion for the approval of the consent calendar items?
Motion to approve.
Support. Motion is made by Commissioner Adams and is supported by Mayor Pro Tem Seats. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Seats,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
motion carried.
The next item on the agenda is resolution to approve a monthly travel stipend for Finance Director James Williams.
Motion to approve.
Motion is made by Commissioner Adams and is it supported?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Singleton. I'm gonna read the memo and the resolution. Memorandum states that the recommendation, the Benhar City Commission approves a request to approve a $600 monthly travel stipend for Finance Director James Williams. Justification: James Williams became City Finance Director on August 1st, 2022. Mr. Williams is traveling round trip to and from the Detroit area. With the price of fuel, there is a need to help with travel expenses. Financial impact: $600 per month for 6 months. Resolution reads, whereas James Williams has been the City of Benhar Finance Director since August 1st, 2022, whereas Mr. Williams is commuting round trip to and from the Detroit area, and whereas a need exists to assist with the cost of gas for his commute, whereas the monthly expense will be funded by the finance budget, and whereas Mr. Williams will submit all gas receipts on a monthly basis, whereas the monthly travel stipend will continue for 6 months, ending March 31st, 2023. Therefore be it resolved that the Benton Harbor City Commission approves a $600 monthly travel stipend for finance director James Williams for 6 months ending March 31st, 2023, which, and I'll add, which sufficient time to Mr. Williams to relocate. We know that there are challenges in the housing market here and finding housing. So with that being said, is there motion was made and seconded? Is there discussion? Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. So is the $600 monthly stipend max for that month, or if he does less, how does this payment, or does he just get $600 a month?
So as it states here that the $600 is for travel expenses. So the finance director will be presenting receipts. Now I'm sure to travel back and forth to Detroit, one trip can be $100 depending upon what type of vehicle you drive. And I just would also add, in this whole process of hiring Director Williams, he has not requested moving expenses. He has not requested a signing bonus, which many businesses are employers to hire qualified people are putting together packages to hire qualified help. So I think the stipend is the bare minimum that the city could provide, giving is $4.15 a gallon or Pipestone. If you go up the street, it'd be $4.25. And don't get gas in Detroit. So, we've waited for years for a finance person. And the ball's in the council. So
I just more need to clarify what I asked. Is it a monthly
it's a ceiling of $600.
ceiling of $600?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Mayor. Gas is pretty expensive, and with the strong negotiation of, I don't know who actually negotiated. I think one of them did. I don't know who negotiated. I'd find out all the time. I don't have a problem with it, being that we do waste a lot of money in our city on gas. See a lot of cars running, wanting parked. See about 3 or 4 cars parked in the same place and they still be running. It's wasteful gas mileage there. I would like to see us give them a gas card, probably. Might be cheaper for the rate that we probably buy gas at. I don't know how much the police are spending in gas right now, or the government is spending in gas. But maybe I think we do get a bulk rate, I think, for gas purchase. So maybe we can look into getting a gas card or finding out how much do we pay for gas from the city. And there's also wear and tear on this vehicle. I mean, you gotta pay for oil changes, if you drive that far. That's about, the oil change probably once a month. And I also like to put in there, within 2 months, he negotiates a deal with mayor to get an electric car, something with a hybrid.
Council order, please.
No, but I do support. At first, I didn't see it until I've been on the road the last few days. But I tell you, hybrid does work, and if you make enough money now to get a Tesla, it probably would work, or a Toyota, just one of your sides. But I think that he's doing a great job in order to keep good talent we have to do certain things. And I think he's been paid less than a lot of other people have been paid. And I just don't want this to be a trendsetter to where everybody work out of town get a card. But we got city cars driving on gas cars right now across the city line and everywhere else. See him in St. Joe's, see him in Waterloo, see our cars everywhere. So maybe we put GPS on him too, make sure he's going where he's supposed to go, being where he's supposed to be. But I do support it. Thank you, Uncle Mayor.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Council. So, this item came up in, committee. I wasn't able to stay for the entire meeting, but was able to express, just some of my concerns as with the other employees who travel. Will this open up, some kind of gateway where every employee who travels, because I wouldn't take a job that many miles away, knowing that I'm gonna have to expend gas and have to relocate. So that was one of my issues with this particular item. But also, like as Mayor Pro Tem stated, will this open up any issues with other employees who travel for their job? Will we have to provide a car? Will we have to provide gas or stipend for those particular employees who challenge what this commission is getting ready to vote on? And why wasn't this negotiated in the salary initially before we even before this job was even taken? I think that would have been a better place to insert that, to negotiate that. And I'm happy that we have a finance director. It's too early to tell what the extent of what's happening with him in this role. So I'm sure it'll be great, but right now it's too early to tell. They can start giving him kudos on the back. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm glad that that role is filled. But I do need an answer to those particular questions because I have some concern about other employees, and I can pick up two who travel. But I would agree that a gas card would probably be better, or a city car to prevent wear and tear on his vehicle versus a stipend. So I can agree upon that. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Uncle Mayor. And I just want to let the community know that I've sit here for years now and not approved our accounts payable for the mere fact that coming out of a state of emergency where elected officials were stripped of their voices for the people, not being able to get any answers to questions, especially your tax dollars. I have not approved the accounts payable, but now, and we've been back in local control since I think, 16, 17? Too long to have been gone per charter states without a finance director. We finally have one. We got millions of dollars that we weren't expecting. Had he came on board when we should have been doing our due diligence, he probably would have gotten the same stipend whether some travel or not. We gave nice bonuses. He would have came in on in. We're about to gain a water customer, a homeowner, tax paying a homeowner, because his plan is to move. Now, I don't know all the employees, but I heard my colleague mention something about a couple of others that travel. Well, how long they've been employed with Ben Harbor, because they should be here by now as permanent customers, taxpayers. I think that we should have been giving him a vehicle as well as a card on the city. With the complaints that some of the residents come through with people getting paid on our taxpayers' dime and sitting out on other people's property, enjoying themselves, doing nothing. And they see this all the time, and they bring me their concerns. And yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. Fearing nobody, trying to be friend nobody, trying to be anybody's enemy either. But you hired me, elected me to do a job. And you have to have very thick skin, whether you are thick or thin. Truth has to be told. Righteous people need to be in charge without affiliations of family members, nepotism, The type of stuff that has really gotten this city where it is. Because we, as people of color, don't know how to be with one another, but we're going to learn to do better by one another. Because we can't keep pointing the finger across the bridge when they're all family members too. They hire each other and take care of each other, and we need to do better and do the same thing. How about that? And stop pointing fingers at one to another.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton.
Thank you. This was one of the items that went through personnel finance that we were kind of like assigned to do some of the negotiations in the some of the recruitment. This is a commission employee. You know, this is so the negotiations happen with the commission. This is not, not a union thing, PLO or whatever we call it now. Ask me, this is a commission employee that we had to go out and recruit and negotiate, some type of, and through that negotiations, when Mr. Williams became one of the final candidates and stuff, he, we asked, so one of the questions that all of us asked, what do you think you should get, whether you get paid, and he threw out a number of stuff, and we knew, not saying that he was not worth what he asked for, but we knew that we couldn't pay that, we couldn't pay that. And so through the negotiations, Commissioner Isom, chair, talking with Mr. Williams, he did agree to a reasonable salary that we could handle, And we also talked about in that negotiations that, although we can't pay you all, what you were, there could be some other things that's called money work, and trying to help do some other things to alleviate burden on them. He did say in his interview that he looking to move to this city, and matter of fact, he's been actively looking for a house to buy. So he has made that commitment that he want to move here and become a citizen of Benton Harbor. I think 6 months, helping him out with the gas, which only come out to $3,600 over 6 months. And when the mayor mentioned, that a lot of companies and organizations have to pay bonuses, sign-on bonuses and stuff to try to get good help. $3,600. That's real low. So I think it's fair, when we do, I think somebody mentioned about, we'll just open up the door for other folks, we're looking at commission employees, the union negotiate what they want to negotiate and try to come somewhere in the middle or whatever. So I don't see any problem. I don't see it being a trendsetter for every employee. I know when they had the bonuses, some got 5,000, some got 2,500. So there was a little argument about that, and so I think it's a fair and right thing to do to get good help. We've been getting beat up for some time now about getting the finance director. I can still hear Mr. Nod's voice in my ear now. So, and that's what happened. I think it's fair. And I think it's affordable. So,
Thank you, Commissioner Singleton. Chair recognizes Commissioner Clark Griffin.
Well, Commissioner Singleton said almost everything I said at the committee already that I was gonna say. But I just wanna say, as back to, as for the union, we just recently negotiated with the union. And most contract is 3 to 5 years, so I don't see them trying to open that and come back. And we did give the employees a 2,500 and some 5,000. So to give 3,600 in 6 months, they got it right away, and that was recently. So I think that covers them. And Mr. James was trying to ask for more, but we could not afford it. So I don't think this is much. He's not asking for travel, expenses for his moving, because he is in the process of trying to relocate, which he would be a taxpaying citizen. And as far as local, most of our employees, to my knowledge, are local. So it's not many traveling. The ones that are, they've been here for years. So, and they probably not as traveling as far as him. So I would think if they wanted, that would have didn't happen. They've been doing it for years, and they just got some money. So that's basically what I wanted to say. I mean, all that is already covered, and this is he falls in a different category as most of our local employees or travelers. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Hayes.
Well, I always look at the best bang for our dollar, and I know that we get gasoline from the state at a really great price. We also have, it's not a great price?
And the other thing is, so we're talking about budget too. Where is this 3,600? What budget? Because the police department has a budget. The city manager's office has a budget. So we're looking at what budget is gonna come out of the finance budget. If we were to do it in a mileage standpoint, based upon what the state calculates mileage, that's a whole nother game.
But that was not what I was speaking of. I was speaking of that we buy gasoline.
Revised.
So that was my question. I know we buy gasoline and we're supposed to have it fairly cheap. So you can go to the regular gas station and buy it cheaper than you can buy it from the state of Michigan.
No, we don't buy from the state of Michigan.
WEX, we buy gasoline from that company. Our gasolines are filled up downstairs. Who do you think fills it up? We're not buying it from the state, and I'm gonna ask that through the city manager. I'm understanding that we had a special program through the state. And then we also have a great program through an enterprise where we get our cars new, and I understand there is a couple of extra cars sitting around that we're not using, but we're paying for.
Yep.
So I'm just looking for ways to get the best bang for the city's money. So if we can give him a car that's already there and paid for, and we can get a better gas allowance, I'm just asking, did we look at it, or did we just take the first option?
This is the most practical way to resolve it in the most expedient way. It's just to give the stipend. He present all of his receipts at the end of the month. It's not for petty cash. It's not for stakes at in and out. It's for gas. That's strictly, so and it's coming out of the finance budget. So, pardon me.
I'm sorry, we need to remember that we still have the opportunity, because we have not to revise our budget that we were late
We won't
with
have to
this year.
revise.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Right,
just
that's
to
what I'm
keep that
saying.
in
It's the
mind, that we
most-
have
Yeah, this is already in the budget. It's already in the finance department budget. It's just 3,600 will be used for 6 months to support the high gas issue in his travel. And if you calculate
Wasn't expecting
travel,
this.
we was not expecting this, from Benton Harbor to Detroit, 5 days a week,
More than this.
4 weeks in the month, $600.
But he's up to the task, and I say call for the question.
I do want to recognize Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. I appreciate that because I try not to make emotional decisions. I try to make informed decisions. So which is why I was listening for all the information. I was listening for all the information, trying not to make an emotional decision, whether I liked him, liked what was being said, but trying to take in all the information so that I made an informed decision. And just listening, not realizing that it's coming out of the finance budget. So my other question is, why we just didn't give him a $3,600 bonus and call it a day and be done with it? A one-time check and be done with it. This is the same thing. As I heard Commissioner Singleton say, because I was listening, that a lot of people have gotten sign-on bonuses. I agree. For starting new roles, just take it off the top and just be done with it. You don't have to worry about the receipts and all of that nonsense. Just do a one-time payment and be done with it, and call it a bonus for whatever it is. Because I'm hearing all these terminologies as I'm listening to everybody's conversation and what people are saying, and just be done with it.
Well, so the thing about it is, it's not a part of his salary.
Right.
His salary has already been negotiated.
I understand that. That's a way of accountability.
Which would change the dynamic of what it is.
Yeah.
It is a layer of accountability as it relates to expenditure. And like I said, for what's at hand is the most practical way to do it. Chair recognizes Commissioner.
And I just want to say stipends are tax-free, bonuses are taxed. So if you give them a bonus and tax it, it's gonna need to be less than $3,600. So, and he's already spending way more than $600 a month.
All right.
Excuse me, just to rebut that, our monthly stipends are taxed.
Point of order.
So, that's not a true statement. They're taxed.
It's tax-free.
And who got the
It's tax-free, that's if it's
But this is
superintendent
not a salary stipend, it's a gas stipend.
So, yeah, so I don't want to get into the back.
Can we call for the question?
I just want to.
Can we call for the question?
Some people are making emotional decisions.
Can we call for the question, because you just want
I mean,
less
let's
emotional.
stay civil.
Can we call for the question?
And respect everybody's
Yes.
debate and dialogue.
Yes.
And the
Oh,
discussion.
nice debate. Okay.
Technically, that's what it is.
Oh, okay, well, let's keep going.
Chair recognizes the finance
There you go.
chairman.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor.
Co-chair.
At the end of the day, this is what we want. We got a finance director. This is what we've been wanting for the last year and a half, 2 years. We got the man for the job. So we're gonna get him an incentive to keep him here, maintain him here. Every day we can do his job, the best job he can do as a finance director. And that's at the end of the day.
Oh.
Mr. James, Finance Director Williams.
And the co-chair has spoken. Call for the question.
Chair, and I would just say, what does the finance director, since we've been talking about you in front of would you like to make a statement?
Yeah, if I may. And I just want to thank everybody for everyone's input. And yes, it's like 300 in 1 week, so it's actually $600 in 2 weeks. So it's actually more. But anything that will help, I appreciate. I'm not complaining. If you guys didn't give it to me, I'll still be coming out here.
Yeah.
But by you guys offering it to me, I won't decline it. I will use it, and we'll just move on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Superb fighting for cost of living
Commissioner Henderson,
raises.
call for the question.
Mayor Pro Tem Seeds,
Hey,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry, Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This brings us to the final resolution, a resolution for partnership with Michigan State AFL-CIO Workforce Development Institute as an access for all advisory board.
Motion to approve.
Motion is made by Commissioner Adams.
Support.
It is supported by Commissioner Clark Griffin. Is there discussion?
Yes, sir. Oh, just a quick question, because I was very impressed. If in fact this is the same thing and the same one, that, there was a gentleman running for office, Mr. Joey, I think it was. Is this the organization that he brought forth? Excellent, wonderful, and I think that they will work so well with Manchester Beerwell Arts and Training Technology Center. I think that they would be hand in hand at putting our people in our little great city of Benton Harbor, Michigan, on a right career path with so many different choices, because everybody don't want to do construction work. Some people want to make pottery and become excellent at doing so and sell it. Some people want to be photographers, and all of that type of stuff should be available. Choices in America, and we shouldn't have to leave our community to do it, since we're making bike trails and all that. It should be in walking distance. I don't want to go out to Lake Michigan College, but I want a class. I want a career class, and I want it in my community, in walking distance, just like a corner store. I want training for my residents in my community in walking distance. And I want choices of what those trainings are in the form of a career path in my community in walking distance. Because that's what this whole venture for the past 20 years for me started out to be. Going across country, seeing communities, how they're connecting. Businesses, they stop the flow of traffic. You don't have to no longer go outside of one business to enter out into the traffic to come up into another one. You should have easy access from one business to go over to the next without going out into heavy traffic. I mean, all this type of stuff. I have not sat down here and wasted my time spending taxpayer dollars to go have a good time. I brought back the knowledge, the education. Let's apply it. Let's apply it. I want career training. I need career training. Because they say that you don't get too old that you can't, still learn a thing or something. And I'm tired of doing hair. I want to do something else. I need training. I need training, career training.
Commissioner, we do have a closed session.
Undesirable.
I call for the question.
I didn't know. I didn't get a chance to look at the YouTube of this committee and what they presented. What facility, what other are they connected to Connexus and Michigan Works?
In no shape, form, or fashion.
Nope, no shape or form or fashion. And everybody asked questions about the main output of what they're going to do in our community, and if they're going to concentrate on the problem area. The hub of Benton Harbor is the problem area of the whole county. So are they gonna focus on Benton Harbor, or are they gonna focus on the region?
This is a partnership with the city of Benton Harbor.
I hear that, but my question is, they partnered, Connexus and Michigan Work partnered with us for years, and they never did anything for our community. So I'm asking, is this entity going to work directly for Benton Harbor residents and not the county,
Connections is a county organization. It's not strictly Benton Harbor.
wait a minute, Mayor, because if I can't get my question answered,
I just have.
no, I'll ask this through the chair, to the city manager, because you don't seem to be understanding my question, and I don't want to. So I'm just gonna ask the city manager to answer my question, please. Or whoever have the answer to. If these entities are going to concentrate on Benton Harbor residents only. And that's my question. And I asked that through the city manager, please.
Manager, you want to answer that?
If
Mr. Mayor and Commission and audience, this is an attempt to hire Benton Harbor residents. And they're going to other communities, they will work with them. They're coming to work with us here in Benton Harbor.
so, their focus is on the Berry County or the region.
I'm gonna read the resolution.
I read it. It don't say.
They came from the council.
I know they did, but I didn't hear it. I wasn't here that day. So I'm asking the question. I can read, I saw, but it does not answer my question. So if you can't answer my question, you sit in the meeting, you had this big conversation about what was going on. So somebody that was in the meeting, answer the question, please. Oh, there you go.
Commissioner Clark Griffin.
I can answer the question. I was in the meeting and Mr. Commissioner Singleton also had another meeting. So yes, they are focused on Benton Harbor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
She said in the meeting and told me to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you recognize Commissioner Singh?
Thank you, Council Mayor. We did was some meetings on this and the presentation that they did was great. I also had a chance to go out and look at some of the things they did do, and then sit down and talk with some of the people that's involved and what they do around other communities. And it's just excellent, even after that, I guess I'm always talking about my grandkids. Just the other week, my grandson had two that's 19, one went off to Wayne State. He's going to be looking into nursing, but the other 19-year-old ain't quite, he don't want to do that college thing, but he called me up and said, hey, Papa, we got a trade school somewhere. He said, I want to do that, He's not college material, but he want a good job. He want a trade that he can make a decent living. And I thought about this program here and some of the things I've seen them do. And I think this is excellent. Hopefully we can see some fruit down the road.
Call for the question.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Absolutely, yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sims,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Absolutely, yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This brings us to staff comment. Chair recognizes Public Safety Director, Director McGinnis.
Okay, now you back here. Good evening, all. It's a long night. I don't have a lot to say. I did come in a little late. I heard a question by Commissioner Adams about training. When we train other departments, that money comes out of the fees they pay us. We don't pay money out to train other people. But because we have become a training kind of hub in Berrien County, That's how it works. Something else? Get my age, start to forget, so I'm gonna pass the time.
Chair recognizes the city assessor.
Your comment.
Chair recognizes assistant city manager.
Nothing this evening.
Chair recognizes finance director.
Yes, once again, I want to thank everybody for giving me the assistance that I know that would be very helpful to me and my family. I want to also let you guys know that we're currently working on the audit that's coming up. That's still in the process. And furthermore, I would like to let everyone know, and this is a question that you guys were seeking answers for, and that is the current balance of the ARPA funds. Currently, as we stand, the balance on the ARPA funds is $4,664,063.33, all of which has to be spent by the end of the calendar year of 2024. Thank you.
Chair recognizes our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. We did have a hearing today in Berrien County District Court. I don't know how much you want to hear about that, considering the lateness, but Ms. Attorney McCree was correct. Nuisance, illustrative enumeration as our ordinance defines it, blight, dangerous homes, unsafe structures are a misdemeanor in the city of Benton Harbor, as is illegal dumping, as is loud music, all offenses that create a danger to the city and to its citizens. There are approximately 80 to 100 homes or properties. Actually, I wouldn't say homes because they're not homes. People are not living in these structures in the city that are blighted, condemned. The city, for whatever reason, for years, for lack of money, has condemned them, but has not enforced or held the property owners accountable to care for their properties, and they have deteriorated over the years. They've become unsafe. We've got chimneys falling down onto neighboring properties. We've got burned out homes that have been burned out for years, where I went out with code enforcement a couple of months ago. I saw a home where the home was gone. There was a floor. The floor was half gone, and then there was a basement. I mean, kids were, unfenced, unprotected, what they call an attractive nuisance. Kids could come there, fall, get hurt. And, I've had trials on illegal dumping. I've had trials on loud music. And Commissioner Adams mentioned that, she was elected to do a job. I was hired to do a job. Part of that job is to prosecute city ordinances and to prosecute the tickets that Director McGinnis's people write. They're out there in the streets. I don't live in the city, but the city is my client, and I work hard to protect the city. Without enforcement, the city is, and we're not going to have improvement. And so as soon as the city starts enforcing its laws, I've gotten pushback from every single ticket the city code enforcement has written, every single one. And properties have been vacant for 20 years. They've been condemned for 8. And the property owners are saying, well, we're going to do something about it. The judge said in the case last week, 2 weeks ago, what's been condemned since 2008. There hasn't been a permit. There hasn't been any work done on that property for years. Nothing is being done until the city's making them do that. We're happy to work with the citizens. I mean, that's all I've ever asked for. I think that's all the city's ever asked for is compliance. We haven't gotten any until we actually enforce our laws. Our laws in this ordinance book, they're misdemeanors. That's what we have to work with, and that's what's getting the job done. So, we're darned if we do, darned if we don't. But my job is to work with the city, to work with Director McGinnis, to work with city manager, Mr. Bruce, Mr. Snyder, and make sure the city is cleaned up. So, and the court agreed with me today, and we're moving forward.
I just have a question about the criminal. How many have actually been put in jail or did the 90 days or?
None.
Could you speak about?
None. I have, all the misdemeanor ordinance prosecution that I've done since 2017 and the ordinance prosecution that the city has done, the attorneys before me, they have always been criminal misdemeanors, 90-day misdemeanors, subject to up to 90 days in jail and or up to $500 in fines. There's never been someone, as far as I know, that has been sentenced to jail. I've always only ever recommended fines and costs and or to abate the nuisance, demolition, make the place safe.
When you say abate the nuisance, could you speak to that?
Well, so there's many ways that you can abate a nuisance. We've had homes that again have been condemned for 8 years. They've been open to the elements. It would cost tens of thousands of dollars to make them safe. So the only other option is to demolish. And our ordinance, like many other ordinances, state that if someone's found guilty of a nuisance, and if they don't demolish the home or make it safe, the city has the right to come in and enter the property and to demolish the home, present the bill to the property owner. The property owner doesn't pay the city back for the demolition, then the city then by law and by ordinance, by statute, has the ability to place a lien on the property for the price or the cost of the demolition.
So what about in the case like with the Howard Flats where it was about to be demolished? Brownfield had given $150,000 and a developer came, they had a plan, they had money, and the city worked with them, and now you have this apartment complex with a waiting list.
We're happy to, I think the city is happy to work with anybody. It's a case-by-case basis. I don't want to talk specific cases, but again, there was a permit to tear down the home done in June, and they wanted 30 days to finish it. One of the contractors that the city works with all the time was the one who was contracted and had filed to the demolition permit. They said we needed 30 days. Like, that's fine. We just adjourned everything out 30 days. A little after 30 days, the house was still up. Then it was, well, we're going to have AEP demolish it. Like, okay. And now it's, well, we're going to have a company come in and work and rehab it. Okay, that's fine. But we still haven't seen a plan. And that's the case with, so far, like I said, it's a case-by-case basis, but so far, we haven't been presented with a plan to make the building safe or to demolish it. And, when we've got citizens like Mr. Nesbitt, calling, coming in and upset about, condemned homes. I talked with a citizen last week about a property who doesn't let his grandkids walk down the street because he's afraid of a particular home that is condemned, that is dangerous, that has rats and mice and cats that people are using the place to feed them. And that, we've got the city has a homeless issue, and this homeless go into the homes and try to stay warm. They light fire. All of a sudden, the fire department is there because we've got a building on fire. We've got tenants and neighbors and residential communities.
But compliance is what
Compliance is, that's all we want.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the city clerk.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify that the next meeting is indeed October 17th, so my apologies on that. And then if you haven't heard about the resource fair Thursday, Boys and Girls Club from 4 to 6 p.m., you all have flyers to hand out for that. There are some out here on the table. and you can also obtain them by contacting me if anybody needs them.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, just to piggyback what the clerk is saying, on those flyers, each one of you have a number of flyers to please give out to your constituents and ask them to come out to the resources. Other than that, I don't want to say to the city attorney, thank you. It was an excellent presentation. Give you two on that.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Clark Griffin.
I just want to say thank everybody for coming out, and I love the city of Benton Harbor. I will continue to support you any way I can. And the commissions do not run to the day-to-day operations. We don't even know about a lot of stuff until like a citizen bring it to us, about code compliance, or you come in with a comment or a citizen. So I just can't phrase it any other way. I am not in support of this woman, 91 years old. She's fighting for her life, and she's fighting for her property. I am not in support of her being criminalized. That's not a criminal charge. We got buildings all over that's about to fall down. Businesses, I don't know, are they on the list for demolish? And I heard that the AEP wants that building. I know the master plan's in the master plan because I took a tour and got off the bus, the stakeholders and all that, looking at the area, talking about how they can develop. So I am not in support, just like the young couple that came, the new homeowners that bought this property that happened to be in my ward, and I didn't know till they came. And then 30 days later, they got a violation, to do the roof or something to the. I am not in support of none of this. So we do not run the day-to-day. We try to let the staff run that. So we don't know unless you come, like Miss Ashley came and like the couple came, what's going on. But it's got to be another way. Have a great night.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, let me just go on from where gentlelady Griffin Clark stopped. We should know, colleagues, we should know what our attorney is doing, because our charter says our attorney works directly under us. And I know the state left this attorney firm here, and we're having a hard time getting information because they were left here by the state, and it was a whole different thing when the state left us. So, yeah, we should know what's going on in the city, not because we're trying to create anything. We need to know. That's what the charter says, that we should know. So we should know what the attorney is saying. So if I ask the question, well, what's happening with this one case, and I get no answer, and then you come and tell me what's going on, and I'm dumbfounded that because we're here to support the residents. So when you got the International Housing Code and everything in it is criminal. Now, when we first did it in 2005, we tried to change some of the criminal offenses to civil. At that time, we had an attorney, and she chose to give that to the business owners, only civil, and left the residents out. I want to ask the clerk to pull that resolution up. And then for us as elected officials to look out for the people, to re-look at the International Housing Code. We have to approve it every 5 or 6 years. So it's probably up for approval now. So I just think that we need us as elected officials need to hear what's going on in the city. Little things like giving them code infractions. I knew that they were coming, but I didn't know how aggressive they were gonna go. That's pretty aggressive. And I know we have to make some changes, but in a pandemic, the end of a pandemic, and the worst economic thing that Benton Harbor could ever go through, it's not the time for us to attack our people like we're doing. And all behind what happens at Barron County. Fines and costs. That's all they want. It's fines and costs. So where does that put us as poor people trying to scrape up fines and costs? You can't comply if they're riding your back for fines and costs. You can't put a roof on. You can't put, because you're stuck in the court. So this our job, to go back in and look at this international housing code and change some of that. Because it is not fair if you look at life in Benton Harbor's eyes from a poor African American, then you'll put in some healthy changes to change some of the things that have been put in our path for barriers. This is just something to tear us down a little bit more if it's a criminal offense. And everybody knows to go to Barron County is cost and fines. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would just like to say, as I was listening to the lawyer and knowing a little bit, these kind of things can be case by case. Have enough of them in my ward, I wish I could catch up with some of them, that's for sure. But they can be case by case. I would like to see, if all possible, I don't know what you would call it, maybe a council, maybe advisory board, who could look at those things case by case, because in this case, I don't know the whole history of it, none of that, but besides that, I mean, if you have someone who wants to step in and take care of it and they can do it and they prove that they can, I don't see a problem. You know, whatever they do to X out the law, whatever they do, it's a case by case thing. And we only 9,000 people. I guarantee you half of us do the other half. If we don't, all I got is to knock on my neighbor's door and they can tell you who they are. Especially if we were born and raised here. So it's not like we live in a big Chicago where we can't reach out and help. And if we get somebody that want to come back and reach out to help, why not? We run the law. Is that what we say, or is that what we do? Can we change the law, or we just whistling Dixie? Can we help our citizens, or we just get whistling Dixie? Does it matter how much money they got? Does it matter if they're ill? Can we help? Period. Case by case. Can we do that? And I think we have to start looking into that. Not all of us need the same answer, because all of us don't have the same problem. Some of us, we can call our family member, son, they'll come down here with a truckload of money. What do you want? Boom, 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 and it's done. Some of us don't even have a family member in this whole county. And they look for somebody to help them. In this case, I was gone 40 years, so I might have to see Lady T to see who she is. I don't know. But yeah, I understand the lawyer's part. We hire him to do what we want him to do, and I understand the chief's point. We do ask for things to be enforced. So if you told me that I can no longer drink a beer in the park, I'll probably be pissed too. But it's enforcement, right? Oh, yeah, I don't mind admitting people say perception. Perception is a lie. Am I telling the truth or not? So, if you say, hey, Commissioner, don't drink beer in the park no more, I might have a fit, but I ain't gonna drink beer in the park. So, let's go case by case. Now, y'all gonna say, hey, he just admitted he drinks beer in the park. So,
Don't tell me that.
Let's go on with the show.
What the police at right now?
No more jokes.
that's not a joke. I don't believe in perception. I believe in being honest. Let's go. Let's go. Don't ask me no questions. I'm
Chair
done.
recognizes the first board commissioner in the city.
All right, I don't know if I can follow that. So I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out. There was a lot has been said. I'd like to thank the Monuments Group for their presentation tonight and for coming for this board, all of the updates. County Commissioner Yarbrough, thank you, Lee, for the information that you provided and all the comments from each citizen. And I'd just like to say from a legislative point of view, as the legislative chair, a lot of ordinances and a lot of discussion around what to do to improve the city has come through my particular committee. And I know a lot of the discussion is around, because we get all of the complaints, all of the, what's wrong with Benton Harbor, how can we improve it? And so when we give our staff a job to do, we expect them to do it. And so this has been one of the cases where, in talking to code enforcement person, Mr. Bruce, and talking to the chief, them coming to the legislative committee, Attorney Rack spending hours on legislation. I was just looking at the ordinance that a lot of the new stuff that they've been doing, and as a point of reference, we did approve the International Code of Housing earlier this year. It actually went before the commission, because it came before my chair first, my committee first, and we did approve it earlier this year. But that particular abandoned building ordinance came before the legislative committee, and I remember spending hours looking at this, and building code enforcement director Bruce came and he brought it to us to actually look over it to see what are some of the changes and how we need to address this, because the city does need to be cleaned up. Some buildings have been sitting vacant and torn up for years, and just trying to address that. And so, like you said, it's like a catch-22. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, but we have to do something. And so, as some of the commissioners have stated, it is a case-by-case matter, but it's also compliance. We just want compliance. And however that compliance looks, we don't want to send anybody to jail, especially a 91-year-old woman. We don't want anybody to be prosecuted or any of that. But we want compliance, which means we want people to take care of the properties that they've either been given or that they've owned. And so whether that is a building laying open on Main Street, we want those kinds of things taken care of so it can improve the quality of life for our residents who live in this particular community. And so if we can resolve this by somebody else taking on that building and improving that building, that is how that'll be resolved. But at the end of the day, we want compliance, and we can't hit our staff upside the head for doing what we've asked them to do, which is to help improve the quality of life in the city of Benton Harbor by cleaning it up from blight. All of us have had those complaints from residents about buildings torn up and burned out, and why this building now. I get calls. 145 Empire that was just torn down used to be the old chicken place. Why this building still standing? Blah, 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 blah. Why this house still standing that was burned down? Why? And so as they're trying to do this, why this house falling down next to this other house on Colfax and Ward 1? So there's been a lot of that in our communities, and specifically throughout the different wards that they're trying to address. And so, we have to, like I said, it's about compliance, and I'll leave it there. Thank everybody for coming out. But I am in support of cleaning up the city. And again, we need to take it case by case and deal with it accordingly. All we want is compliance. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Park and Recreation Public Safety Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. those are some of my sentiments too, that we have been getting beat down about cleaning up, and it's rightfully so. You know, it needs to be, you know, things need to be done. And I also will point out that public safety compliance is the main issue. That is the last resort that somebody want to do, you know, I believe, put somebody in jail, which I don't think that's going to happen. But compliance is, at some point, if you're going to improve things, you got to have compliance. Hopefully that this situation get resolved, that where something could happen. You know, I heard the city attorney say that abatement, you know, if something could happen where somebody else get the building or something at 91 years old, I'm sure she probably done with it, you know. Want to take the time to abate it, so if somebody else get it in a timely manner, and get it abated, just like we did the building down here on Main Street there. But the main issue is getting something done. You just can't sit, you know, forever in those conditions, because it's a case of you should have known and something happened, you know, but in this case, we know. And if something happened, the liability is greater when you know and you didn't take any action. So hopefully this can get worked out in a minimal way, you know, with no harm to Ms. Lady T. On that issue. Also on the monument, you know, I just hope, you know, that it get done, and I believe it will. You know, we don't kick it down the road, as Commissioner Henry would say, kick the can down the road too long. Get it done. I think it would be a great thing for Ben Harbor. Came up at that time where, you know, civil rights were Main Street, you know, I heard stories from my uncle and them that said that when they was on the police department, that they couldn't go across a certain line when they were patrolling, you know, to have African American on Main Street is it's a great thing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So hopefully we can get that thing done. Public Safety Committee meets on Wednesday. Park and Recreation Public Safety co-chair. Commissioner Edwards doing a great job for the Parks and Recreation part of it. I kind of just look back and say, hey, have at it, you know, tell me what he's doing, and try to get things worked out. I think some things have happened in the parks over the last couple of years or so. That's been real busy, and I think next year, you know, you'll probably see some greater things. Since we got a long meeting, you know, there's something to do.
Did he tell you about what he's doing in the park? Just a little levity.
Going through all this, you know, you might need one.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Isom.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, participating, all the comments. Mr. Yarbrough, thank you for the update. Thank you so much. The fresh garden, the tree. It's almost like the tree. Thank you. There's a lot going on in the city. You know, we just trying to improve the city as best we can, you know. But I want to thank everybody for this commission, for helping the finance director out. You know, it's an incentive. We want him here. We want him in that position. You know, not just for a month, but years down the road. You know, so, and United Civic Monument Project. Trust the process. Sometimes you got to go through something, you know. Get sometimes, you gotta go through something, but it will prevail. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So just hold on. Hold on. So, just hold on. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I thank everybody for coming out. Still, we need things in the city. We need buoys. I know something I was saying this. The buoys in the bathroom, a real bathroom down on Yarborough Park. Water fountain, stuff like that. We need that. And bumping up public works. Public works. That's the key. It's still the key. We got a lot of new equipment coming in. So we need to keep this equipment maintained and use it wisely. Use it at the best job we can do. Clean the streets, chipping trees, asphalt. We got it all. One more thing, a leaf vacuum truck. You get one of those, Ben Harper gonna be rolling. We rolling right now. See you. Expect great things, Ben Harper. Thank you for listening. God bless you. God bless Ben Harper.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I'm laughing because that sounded so wonderful, my dear colleague. But where's this crew coming from that's running all this equipment? There has to be some hiring, some training going on somewhere. But it must be done. I guess if those of us that probably have to volunteer some time to learn how to run the equipment, I'm game too. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule this evening to come out and see how your local government is working for you or not. Because sometimes it doesn't. I hate government, but I love living in a land of laws when I look at other countries around the world. Democracy is better than dictatorship that I've seen. But we as little mere humans running and lingering around here on earth had better start being more mindful of how we treat one another when it comes to code compliance and anything else. When it comes to creating low-income housing and a whole lot of other stuff. Ask Ian. You don't have to. Look at what he did. Don't think that Lake Michigan won't burn. Get to thinking that you're so high and mighty that she won't burn. And you'll find yourself in the same condition as those that you wrote a ticket on or tried to fine or have in front of a judge over a mere compliance. But my thing is, I know that there are some very unsafe structures, especially for children that roam in the community. But here's the thing, where is the weight and measure of it all when the city itself is out of compliance? I have a hole across the street from my house with a pole and been like that going on 4 years. A public street on a curb. A baby just out playing. I pray that doesn't happen. I see cats and everything going in and out of it. I don't know if the fire hydrant works. Lord forbid there isn't a fire. Because I don't want to have to find out. But we ourselves have to do better. And including by one another. How are you going to charge the poorest of the poor? Look, we came to this conclusion when Barack Obama became president. And all of this policing across America, fanning black communities to stay afloat. With ticketing. Ticket here, ticket there. Ticket here, everywhere. Something is wrong with that. We're not going backwards. We're not going backwards. Mr. Curly Wiggins used to keep Ben Harbor so clean. He would pick up anything that he saw out in Ben Harbor. And what machine called himself rising to bring him down, they did that part, but the machine lost a few screws and was unable to function. Anyway, do me a favor. I want everybody to Google breathe that. Because see, there's something greater going on that we all have to put a hand in this. Racial equity is real. We can't just talk about this thing. We have to become living breath with it. There is a Breathe Act, not only on the state level, but on a federal level, to where we are trying to level the playing field for all human beings to gain the equality that we need for fair housing, fair health care, fair job, training, daycare, you name it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Seats.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, to my colleagues, wonderful meeting tonight, I believe. We've achieved a lot, we've got a lot done. I will say I appreciate Commissioner Yarbrough, my highest sympathy, lost their husband for the months. Thank Mr. Reed for coming, for doing the right education on issues that are at hand. I don't want to labor long on a project because nobody's against Martin Luther King. But, you know, as the mayor said, when we really realize that racism is still alive and well, when my son or my daughter still can't come to your house, there's a problem. You know, if you see a black person, you grabbing your purse, locking your door, and not everybody don't want to rob nobody, but it's still a perception. We've all been harbor, have felonies, drug addicts, all these different kinds of things. So I do concur that something needs to happen. One of my dear family members, Angela Davis, was exiled from this country. My mom's cousin, exiled for years now. She's a professor at USC. So the fight is real. And the fight is still a fight. When again you have people right now still using the N-word against little kids and asking for permission to use the N-word and saying, let's get rid of all the N-words. That's happening in school today. It's still real when you got a student get choked out and the man still hasn't been prosecuted, yet you prosecute the person for a candy bar kid. So, I mean, we can go on and on and on and on about it. I know about that nuisance law because I got prosecuted and I had to pay for deferred prosecution for somebody dumping a mattress in my yard. It wasn't even my mattress. But because of the heinous act of Benton Township, which they had some real issues with me anyway, wanted to prosecute me. They didn't want no fine money. They wanted to put a misdemeanor on my record. And then when I was talked to by the judge, he talked to me like I was just the average criminal, and it wasn't even my mattress, and I got the mattress gone and removed and disposed the right way. So this law is to better, but we have to be careful the way we implement it. Because we don't want to implement it on one person in the inner city to say it's blight or contamination, but then downtown is art. You have to be careful because we do have a building down there that has no ceiling, no walls, but has chaotic flooring in there that people take pictures and they go over there and do wedding pictures and they do all kinds of things. This thing should have been demolished, removed, and gone by now. There is no integral structure in that building. Lastly, I will say, I only got 10 seconds. When y'all leave here, go back on that alley on Wall Street and see what's happening. Y'all see what's happening over there. And I'm gonna say it as this, as my time is just rang. After you see it, remember these words: to be continued.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Seats. Just like to thank everybody for coming out, all the presenters, presentations. Anything of great value, there's a great difficulty attached to it. The project is of great value. We're at the last point, just overcoming the last difficulties to make it happen. So I look forward to working with the Unified Civic Group, the community, to erect the statue of the Reverend Dr. Martin King Jr. and for his legacy in the city of Benton Harbor. Dirt cheap lawn care, we paid $12,825 in taxpayer money because of illegal dumping. And that tab is running. So a clawless and toothless tiger cannot survive. So we have to have some teeth in our enforcement of safety ordinances. As the mayor, one of my biggest thorns and complaints is the dumping. The city is filthy. We need to clean it up, Mayor. When y'all gonna do something? And then the structures. Mayor, I got a house next to me. It's been staggered. It's a mattress hanging out the window. I got a house behind me where it was homeless people, and all of a sudden the police surround the house. My children, Daddy, what's going on over there? Somebody there smoking meth in the house. So there is another side to all of this. And sometimes, a fine or civil, that's not going to make people move. But I do agree, and every case is different. This building over here that they call the block now, the roof was falling in. I mean, it was an eyesore for years. Probably on a demolition list, but it's been revitalized. Now, everybody may not like what it is, but it's back on the tax roll.
Okay, hallelujah.
There's people with jobs over there, and it's contributing to the city. This building over here on Pipestone, ready to be demolished. The building on the corner been vacant, can't keep a tenant for years. Now fully capacity on the tax roll and making money and jobs. So this council is enhanced. We work with residents who lost their home or, recently. So we want to work with anybody to bring any property back to life. So we can go on the tax roll. And it can be a resource again to this community and the city, but at the same time, we cannot allow for buildings. It's a video circulating around talking about how bad Benton Harbor is. And one of the main components to it is deteriorating, dilapidated buildings. That's a big part of that presentation. So I don't agree with draconian action, but what I don't agree with is no action. So let's all residents, let's put our best foot forward. If you have a plan, you have the finances, you want to rehabilitate a property, we want to hear it. But without that, we have an obligation and responsibility to the whole community to make sure that's safe and a decent place for everybody to live. So that being said, we do have a closed session.
Motion going to closed session.
Which is, we do have to announce it. Which is review manager evaluation, which is the city manager. Is there a motion to recess into closed session?
I don't know if you want to discuss it being 10 o'clock and policies state that mandatory closure time is 10 o'clock. Remaining business will be rescheduled for the next regular meeting unless it's urgent regarding a particular issue. In that case, you can schedule a special session.
This is urgent.
Can we do it on Wednesday?
This is urgent.
This
is urgent.
We,
Just like Miss T. This is.
We may suspend the rules.
Suspendable.
So, this can be done in a special meeting at a more appropriate time.
Wednesday.
So is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made
Oh.
by Mayor Pro Tem C, supported by Commissioner Isom. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yeah.
Commissioner Isom.
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem C.
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes, thank you.
And you know what?
Tammy.
During updates, you have to learn stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. No updates are being given.